talk to Randy in California. Randy, you're live with Eric and V. What would you like to talk about?
Eric and V, how y'all doing, man? I'm big fans of y'all. Appreciate y'all letting me
going in.
Yeah, what do you want to talk about?
Yeah. Well, not too long ago, long story short, my wife passed away. We were married for 3 years, and I grew up Christian. The whole thing was kind of been watching you guys for a while, and I'm so glad I was able to talk to you guys without getting too emotional, because talking about my wife passing. So it took me a couple months to be able to call you guys. You know what I mean?
Well, happy New Year.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I grew up in the church. Long story short, we met. I've known her since she was 6 years old. We grew up in the church. She was what you call a praise dancer. Her mom was, went to the school at the church. Her dad did praise music. I mean, the whole thing, I was totally in. Went to the military, got out, and then she got married. Everything was fine. She ended up getting sick out the blue after my son was born. And about 8 months went back and forth going to the hospital, praying, and people at church praying. She would have good days when she was good, and we thank the Lord on those days. And the bad days, hey, they were just bad days, but God is working it out. So we went through this, and she goes into a coma. And we don't know if she's going to make it through the night. So this is for the whole church came together. We're talking about the pastor of the church I went to. He called people from all over the country of pastors that came to visit. We had thousands of people praying, and we were prophesied it to. And all of a sudden she came out of her coma, but she started spotting on her limbs. And we were just happy she was alive. Her limbs start rotting off until she's going to lose her arms and her legs, basically. So this was a tough pill. So she's a dancer. So I had never been tested like this, to where, I mean, this is the real deal here. You know what I mean? And so I'm praying, and we've had people try to be realist with us. Hey, you guys need to just get this done and don't let it go any further. But we told them, no, we know God's going to heal her, everything. She ended up losing her legs and her arms and died in front of me the day of our 3-year anniversary.
Oh, Randy.
That was hard to process, and I had to see my wife, a shell of herself, just dead like that. And when people die and you hear people talk about them, oh, they were so special and this and that, and you kind of brush it off. But Stacy, she gave her whole life to God. She was a Princess Tiana at Disney, and at Disney you have a lot of people that are that don't have the same beliefs as you do, sexually or genderly or whatever. And she would politely stand her ground, and I don't believe in this because the Bible says so. But for the first time, I had questions, and I was past the point of ignoring those questions that I had. I wanted to find out now, because if my kids get sick and if there is something out there, I want to make sure I'm at least talking to the right motherfucker first. You know what I mean? I got to make sure I'm talking to the right person.
Yeah.
So I got turned on to your guys' show, and I started learning things about faith and the reason, about logic, about indoctrination. And these were a lot of things. And you said something, Eric, that I felt more than anything. You spoke a while ago about losing somebody. Correct me if I'm wrong. And you had to mourn twice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That because, I felt that. And that's what I tell people. So here's my situation leading up to that. Her parents still believe. Everybody still believes. And I can't do it anymore because I just know better. When I found out just, about the translations in Matthew, nobody knows who wrote those. And this is all comes your guys' show and doing research on my own. It took 1.5 years, and that's when I found that I was indoctrinated, because I couldn't even, I'm looking at the facts in front of me, but I still can't believe it.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is a problem. Right. So I'm finally out of that. I finally on my Facebook the other day, put it on the post, like, I'm an atheist, let's argue. And the amount of people that just hit me up with it felt so relieving to be able to say that with my chest out. And now I have information I can present to you guys.
Yeah.
So I'm stuck with my kids. My daughter's 7 and my son is 4. Now, I'm away from it, and I've told some of the family, but they're head on with this stuff. I mean, her dad is to the point where somebody cuts him off in traffic. Well, they just, they just had a demon possessed in him or something. I'm like, hey, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, I gotta fucking relax, bro. So, they help out with the kids a lot.
Just really quick, just as an aside on that one. If you believe, in the enemy, the nemesis, the evil, how petty has the devil got to be like, and then we will send someone to cut them off in traffic?
Right.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
We had one conversation and he didn't, and our relationship has changed after this because I have a point where I talk back now. So he said, well, it was because of something at Disney and the spirit got her. And I said, let me tell you something. If she's the only one that believed in God and all these other people are doing the same thing and she's the one that only got sick and died, what does that say about your God? That only his children are getting fucked up? Like, what is that? That doesn't say too much about what you're not helping your case.
Yeah.
So now my kids are being watched by them a lot. Mm-hmm. That's all they got left of their daughter. And I understand this. So here's where I'm at. My daughter's coming now and she has questions. She's talking to me and she's like, Mommy's in heaven and it works and it works for her. But I want to kind of just be real with her and be like, hey, look, I don't know. Hey, like this is, you know what I mean? Like Mommy, that might be it for Mommy. But every time they're at the grandparents, they're just getting fed this more than ever because their grandparents are super scared now.
Yeah.
So how do I balance this? I'm looking at futures. I'm looking at later on, me and my daughter having problems. Because if I let it get too far, maybe 2 years from now, she starts arguing with me and that messes up our relationship. Because no, Grandma said Jesus is real. You're saying, so I don't know how to navigate this because I need their help, but I don't also want to put up something where it ruins our relationship. And like they go to church on Sundays. And if I have to work and they watch the kids on Sundays and I have nobody else to watch them,
right.
Yeah.
I tell you to leave the kids at home. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just like, I don't know what the fuck to do. But I'm to the point now where when people come at me now and the old pastor I used to have, I have the boldness now to approach and ask hard questions now to people that usually you looked at an authoritative position and were afraid to. And when you start doing that, they get in circular arguments and they don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Yep,
No,
that's true.
So hold on, you still get to talk to your old pastor? I'm jealous. Pastor Lance. Call me, bro.
Yeah.
Ever since I changed my number to have 666 as the prefix, they just stopped calling.
They just stopped. Nope.
So Randy, first off, there aren't words that either of us can express to, damn man, you're going through some really heavy shit.
Yeah.
You really are.
But every time I look at it, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm a 10-year veteran, and I've been to Iraq, and I've seen people lose their whole families, their country, and their home. So I do put things in perspective too. But nobody's pain is worse than anybody else's pain. I get that, but it's life. I'm dealing with it, man. And I appreciate it.
Well, I hopefully someday when COVID ends, I would love to give you a hug, my friend. If you're a hugger. That said,
I am now. I love everybody now. I'm a big hugger, man.
I love that.
So the interesting thing is neither of us have kids. But I can tell you the experiences that I've had here doing this show and talking to people, and especially finding out how wrong I was after the fact, that we can give you what little we do have. We had a caller call in once who was saying that, they did not want to cry in front of their child because their spouse had just passed away. And I didn't know. They're like, I'm trying to be strong for my kids, and so I have somebody watch them while I go into the car and I cry. And then afterwards, I'm reading the comments and I'm talking to people, and a lot of people were saying, hey, you know what? Crying in front of your kids can give them permission to know that it's okay to cry. Mm-hmm. And going, you know what? Daddy is sad too. And that's okay. We're going to get through this together. A lot of times, and as a father, I'm sure you know this. How many times has one of your kids fallen down and then look to you to see, okay, should I be crying right now? Should I be,
my son, yeah, it's like, is it okay? But if I give him permission, the walls come down and it's over after that.
Oh yeah. I saw a comic of a little kid getting hit by a meteor, and then somebody going, oh no, and the parent going, no, just pretend like it's not.
He'll walk it off. It'll be cool.
Yeah, and the kid just shook it off because obviously it wasn't worth crying for because the parent wasn't worried.
Yeah.
Right.
But
so
I think.
Really quick, just to tie that together, I think that being honest and open allows for a lot. You know, I think that one place that could be a problem in the future is, oh, I didn't know that dad didn't believe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've created this entire view of the world and I didn't account for dad, you know. And then also, I think your specific situation, so I have not been through your experience, but I have been through traumatic experiences where I've needed to have really intense conversations with people who were very close to me. And I'll tell you what I did. I went to a therapist and I practiced for over half a year. I practiced with my therapist. I talked about how afraid I was about it. I talked about how, what if they come back and I lose this relationship? What if? And I scripted it. And then my therapist would take the other side and we would practice it together until the day came that I was ready. Because what we had done is we'd created a plan with my personal specifics in mind, with the person I'm talking to in mind, and with the goal in mind. And I think that this is definitely something that you care about deeply and is worth that investment. You know, taking the time to work together with a therapist and go over all of those scenarios, I think can give you a lot that I know that we couldn't in a show give. But I can tell you that, the experience that I had there is one that I wish everybody got to have when it comes to having tough conversations. Just know that you should go to the therapist and you should, work that, because you, sir, are deserving of a lot. You know, you deserve to be respected as a human, and as a father, you deserve to be able to say, hey, here's how I want to raise my kids. And hey, I love you. I want to have this relationship. And here's what I'm seeing. And this does not feel comfortable. This is not okay with me. Let's work on finding a system that will be, because here's the thing is it might be that grandma and grandpa are either going to do things their way or not at all. And if it's not at all, that's their decision. And you were never going to have that choice, because you make that decision.
Grandma,
mm-hmm.
and we've had a heart to heart where I kind of, because I feel a little bit closer to her. She's more open to talk to. She's not too into, she's into it, but I'm able to have decent conversations with her without the emotion getting involved, and we can sit down and have a conversation. So one thing I had explained to her, she said, well, I said, Mom, every time I talk to people, it's based off personal experience. And the best way I explained it to her was, if there's Superman out there, and I'm cutting my grass, you're telling me God is looking out for you, you're eating every day, you're still standing and this and that, so you have to believe that's cool. But that's equivalent to having Superman and he helps me wash my dishes and cut my grass. I appreciate you, Superman, but these are things I can do for myself. When I need you is when that motherfucker in the alleyway.
Don't get me the good parking spot, right?
Yeah, right.
Go feed kids in Africa.
That's what I'm saying. So if Superman helps me cut my grass every day, that's cool. But then when I'm getting mugged, he doesn't show the fuck up. I'm sorry, Superman. We got a goddamn problem. You know what I'm saying? We need to talk about the fuck you risk. So I was telling her, just saying that you're still standing doesn't say much, because there's a lot of people still standing. There's killers out there that are still standing. They're doing financially better than us. So she was like, I can it's cool. I know that's your beliefs and all that. So I think it might be easier with her is just with he's even clenched down harder. You know what I mean? It was just yeah.
Wow. So you can come to an understanding without them having to believe what you believe, right? So they can still have their beliefs and just go, this is a point that I need to not cross, because we've agreed together that this is how this relationship is going to be, because both of you get to decide the terms of that relationship. So while that's amazing, that's what that. I mean, the response that I'm thinking of is one where they would never listen in the first place, because even if that's the case, you still have the right to go, whether or not we're going to have this relationship has everything to do with whether or not we're able to agree on the relationship we're going to have.
Yeah. I think just to loop back to... Sorry. Just to loop back to your daughter real quick. I think kind of building off of what Eric said about if you, this other person who was trying not to cry in front of their kids, crying can be a very useful thing to exhibit to your children, you know, in order to make sure that they know it's okay to do too. Same with questioning. Same with asking hard questions. You said you just found out how to do that, right? You just found out like, oh, I can go up to my pastor and ask him hard questions because that authority is imaginary and I don't have to respect that. If you build that into your daughter, regardless of what else, you know, doctrinally or theologically conversations are had, like if she knows that she can just ask the questions that she has, and kids ask really good questions, like if she goes up to grandma or grandpa and asks a really hard question and is told you don't get to ask that, if she comes back she's like, they don't want me asking questions, dad says I can ask I like the fact that I get to ask questions. That increases your credibility for her, because she's going to be able to sense who's open to conversation and being questioned and being challenged and who isn't. So mirroring the asking of questions and encouraging that in her by itself is going to be huge.
And saying I don't know. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. You're right. Yeah. I
Thank you guys. I really appreciate that, because I just needed a direction. And Eric, I think I'm going to do that. I'm gonna get some therapy and talk about things, and maybe that'll set a foundation with how to navigate through the rest of it. So yeah.
I so wish we lived in a universe where there was a quick answer, especially because you're dealing with this right now.
Mm-hmm.
But also your kids are young. You're going to be dealing with this right now for a long time, you know. So taking the time
Yeah.
to do it right means that it can make it a lot easier down the road.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I'll just order a copy of the Book of Eric, I think it is. And,
Oh no, I would not. I would not recommend that, my friend. Hey, it was good talking to you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks
I
for coming.
appreciate you guys so much. And I know you guys hear this a lot, but you guys have totally, just watching your guys' show has totally rewired my way of thinking and my quality of life and the things I'm able to navigate. It's made it so much easier to navigate through this world now through a logical and a skeptical pair of eyes. And I thank you guys for that.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you. Well, that was, okay, Randy. That gave me feels.
I know.
I'm going to rewatch that a couple times this week if I'm feeling, yeah.